Welcome to another episode of the Ultimate MBA Podcast, your go-to podcast for business, strategy, economics, and whatnot. Anything and everything that's related to business. We are talking about it on the podcast. Today we have Ayush Kumar with us. Ayush is a senior product manager at a fintech company right now. He's an MBA from India and moved to Canada on a PR a couple of years ago. Has done quite good for himself. Welcome Ayush to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, so the agenda of the podcast today is right. So product management, finding job in Canada, like things around those areas. Ayush, quickly, do you want to give an introduction to the people who are listening in?
Yeah, no, sure. There's nothing different that I have done, as compared to what people do in India, like in general, right? I'm an engineer, did a core engineering job for a while, then did my MBA. This is something that I did out of the way. So in MBA, when I graduated, the most coveted jobs of a typical MBA graduate was amongst these three roles. One was a brand manager with an FMCG company like Maggie, right? The other was getting into consultancy, McKinsey or Deloitte or those kind of big five. And the third was maybe getting into area sales management with FMCG companies. um, yeah, but tech wasn't big at that time. It was coming up.
It, it was
uh,
2017, right? I'm just
20,
giving a year to
2015,
the
2015,
2015.
2015. Yeah, 2015. And then like you can actually call it 2014 because the placements happened 1 year before. So um, yeah, so but I chose tech, because I thought it's a growing field and I'll get to learn a lot. You don't really know much when you're in college, but I chose tech. The first tech company that came in was People Interactive, which is like the parent company of Shadi.com. So I joined that. I had no clue what job I'll do. I just because it's tech, I joined, and that's where I kind of stumbled into product management. uh, अच्छा, ऐसा भी कुछ होता है. I had no clue this role existed in the market. And but then when I got to witness it in action, I fell in love with it, and then grew in product management, moved to Canada. I'm still in product management. So yeah, that's my story.
So first question, you moved to Canada in I think around 2019 or
Yeah.
so, and you had a well settled life in India, a senior product
Mhm.
manager with Shadi.com.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to come to Canada? What was your motive
Yeah.
behind that?
Yeah. I don't I don't have a very value adding answer on this. It was more of a decision of my wife, and I had no decision making powers, like every person would understand that. So she wanted to get some like, work exposure, working abroad for some time, and me with my all analytical mindset, I was like, why? What are the success criteria? I opened a spreadsheet. Let's write it down. She's like, delete it. We're going. I was like, okay, we're going. And then yeah, we both of us we left our jobs and started looking for jobs here, and yeah, that's what happened. So there's no real reason, like, okay, I was looking for this particular thing, and that's why I came to Canada. I just just for
That's the
experience.
most
And
honest
also we
answer,
did.
honestly.
And the thought at that time also was, hey, we don't really think we'll stay for long term, right? We'll see, it's like an experiment, and we'll see what happens. um, Also, every person does their worst case scenario planning. So based on all the savings that we had in India, how many ever number of years we worked, we had some savings. We were like, we calculated based on the expenses in Canada, we can sustain for 5-6 months, that'll bring our savings to zero. And so if we don't get a job within 5-6 months, we'll have to fly back, and we both were okay with it, to come back to India after 5-6 months with zero savings and starting afresh. So like, okay, let's try it out. That was the thinking.
And 5 years already now,
It's
almost
been
five
5 years
years.
now. Yes, 5 years.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So you landed up, I think you got a product management job in Canada after moving on a PR. So how did you do it? Like if say someone who's graduating from a university in Canada or maybe who's moving from India and want to get into product management without the Canadian experience, how do you think one should go about it?
Yeah. So my journey might was slightly different because it was pre-COVID. Um, so some learnings might apply, but maybe there's more benefit in answering the second part of your question, like, what according to me can people do who are moving now. So I think what what works. So maybe let me start with some obvious things, and then maybe I'll get into some tactical things as well, right? So all of us know that what works is a referral. If you know someone and they kind of refer you, put in a word for you, it's easy to get a foot in the door, and at least get into the process, and then it's up to you, your skills, whether you can convert it or not. Pre-COVID, it was the way to get that referral, the way to get that connect with someone in the company was to arrange meetups. Hey, would you have 15 minutes after your work day? I can come by your office and we can just meet in the lobby. And some people, generally in Canada, I saw that was my experience, and still is in many ways, that people are open to doing that. It's not like the same. Like I don't think it's the same in India. At least it wasn't in 2019. I've not job searched in India after 2019. So people are generally open. And so earlier it was a coffee chat in the office lobby. Now it's maybe a virtual call, which is in a way easier to kind of get, but also difficult because it's easier. The volume of requests are higher, and so not everyone is kind of so open. Right. So I think maybe I can start at the top. So to get a job in Canada is, I don't think, very different from getting a job in India. The difference comes by the thought of, I don't have Canadian work experience, but you can't really do anything about it, right? So as a job seeker, there's no point to keep thinking about it because it's out of your
Makes
control,
sense.
right? So even if it, like, people ask me, does Canadian job experience matter? I don't think the answer to that question will help you in any way. It could be yes, it could be no. Like, you can't really do anything about it. So what matters is what's in your control. So what's in your control is to put yourself out there in the best way possible, so that people understand the skills that you bring and are interested to talk to you. So the way I talk about it is, think about your job search journey into two buckets. The first bucket is getting the first call. Am I able to get the first call, the first HR call or hiring manager, whatever the first call is? And the second bucket is, after that, am I able to convert, right? If you're struggling with the first bucket, the tactics to kind of take to improve your job search is very different as compared to the second bucket. So if it's, let's assume the first one, if you have applied for 100 jobs and you're not able to get even the first call, right? So let's go deeper there. The thing that's happening is, let's first understand what's the job to be done. I'm using a product jargon. Basically, it means what's the objective. When you are applying for a role to get that first call, all you need to do is excite the person, whoever is reading your application, generally the recruiter. You have to excite the recruiter enough for them to think, this person, let me just talk to them. Like, that's all you need to do. You just need to instigate their curiosity enough so that they want to talk to you. That's all, right? And so think about that as an objective and kind of come back from there and think about what all can you do to do that, right? So obviously one thing is you upload your resume, and that's fine. The other thing that you can do is, there are places where you can add a cover letter. And when people talk about cover letter, they assume documents like a Google Doc, 1 or 2, 3 page long, and there are so many so much baggage that comes with the word cover letter. People kind of get
It used to be daunting for me, like writing a
daunting.
cover
Yeah,
letter
yeah,
used,
yeah.
yeah.
So the way I think about cover letter is not really don't think about document. Think about two questions, and think about answering those two questions with just 2 or 3 bullet points each, and that each bullet point is maybe one sentence, that's all, right? So that cover letter that I use even now has 2 questions, has in total 6 statements, and 6 statements are distributed between those 2 questions into 3 bullets each, that's all. And those 2 questions are, why am I excited about the role? That's first. And second is, why do I think I can add value? That's all, right? And the first question has 3 bullets. Why do I think, why am I excited
So
about the
you
role?
write
The
question in that cover
Yes,
letter.
why am I excited about the role? That's like, yes, I bold it, and then first, second, third, and then the
Oh,
second,
that's a brilliant thing, you know. Anyone who's
yeah,
reading it will catch it.
yeah, and the second question is, why do I think I add value? Question mark, and then first bullet, second bullet, third bullet, and that's all, right? And I don't go into all my experience. What I do is I write enough that instigates their curiosity to kind of talk to me. That's all, right? That's the job. Um, so think about cover letters from that perspective. It'll seem less daunting, and you'll be able to kind of do it. And obviously you can customize it based on the job, but it's not really so much customization. Like, if you really like that job, if you really want that job, you can spend more time phrasing that answer, but you can also use just the template.
Can we
um
chat GPT this? Or you don't
why not?
recommend chat GPTing this?
No, why not? Just do, yeah, chat gpt everything. It's a tool. Use it. If it helps, good. If it doesn't, yeah, definitely. So
If everyone uses chat GPT, do you think there
yeah,
will be a difference in the applications that are made?
yeah. So the difference in application is you, right? You bring that difference. Chat gpt can help you use better words. English in general is not the first language of many people who come to Canada, and so chat gpt can help you that ways. But um, for instance, why am I excited about the role? If you talk about, hey, the problem your product is solving, I can align with that, or the kind of vision that your founder has, I can align with that. That's one type of thinking. Someone else might say, the reason I'm excited about the role is because I like the leadership, whatever, right? So there, chat gpt can't really, it'll if you have something written down, it can enhance it. um, but it can also give you some ideas if you're running short of ideas. But at the end of the day, you are unique, right? You kind of, yeah, you
Yeah.
have to write your own cover letter. uh, so yeah, resume, cover letter. The third thing that you can do, again, just reiterating, the job is to instigate their curiosity, right? So the third thing that you could do is share some of your previous work, right? People call it portfolio also seems very daunting. People, as so
Yeah.
imagine a landing page. I have to build, or maybe a deck, like 10 slide deck. So think about portfolio. The portfolio that I submit has just 2 slides. And again, those 2 slides have maybe 2 projects that are relevant for that organization, and one slide is one project, right? And that project goes through what was the strategic context, what was the problem, why was that a good problem, what's the solution, why that solution was a good solution, chosen solution, what was the impact, and all that, like typical product management process. Um, so one slide, one project. If you're new, like if you're early in your career, maybe you can just one slide, 2 projects, like divide it into half, like that's all, right? Again, your job is to instigate curiosity, and to add more color behind what you are, right? So that gets the job done. So portfolio, don't like it could not be a slide, it could actually be a document as well. At the end of the day, you need to communicate how you think, that's all. Using an example rather than theoretical frameworks, you use an example. This is what happened in my company, and this is what I did, and this was the impact. And that can be achieved maybe by a half a page of a doc, right? That's all. So that's the third thing you could do. The fourth thing is, if you really really like that job, if you really really like that company and you want to work there, is creating something which is specific to that company. So from a product management perspective, looking at that their product, using it, maybe looking at the reviews on YouTube, maybe looking at the comments on the app store of their app, and recommending, if I were the product manager in your company, this is the problem I would have solved, why, this is how I would have solved, why, right? So maybe creating some narrative, some suggestions, some empathy maps for their consumers for that particular company, right? That would be going one step forward. This definitely takes time. and you end up doing it only for the companies that you really, really like. So that's another thing that you can do. The last thing you could do is actually reach out to the team on LinkedIn, and many people do that, and many people say it doesn't work. And let me tell you why it doesn't work and how you can make it work. So why it doesn't work is you send a very cliched message, which doesn't really have a good call to action, or maybe it has a very tedious call to action for them and they don't really have time to respond. And the other thing is you end up sending invitations only to your level people. Like if I'm looking for APM, associate product manager roles, I send to maybe PMs and APMs. What I have observed is that people in those roles are not very responsive because they are not the decision makers, number one. And number two, they generally are not very active on LinkedIn. Maybe it's changing now. The people who respond are in the decision making roles like VPs, directors. And generally when I'm a junior and I'm looking for a role, I feel nervous before pinging a VP. Don't reach out to them. VPs are as invested in hiring an APM as they are in hiring a SPM, because product management specifically is a very strategic role in any organization. So reach out to them. The thing that happens is obviously they are in decision making power, they are more active on LinkedIn. It's their OKR to hire someone, like they OKR as in like their objective to hire someone.
Yeah.
Right. And if they don't hire someone in time, it reflects badly on them, not the APM and the PM in the company. They don't care. And so it's their goal. And the last thing is, these people don't feel threatened by you. Right? They're already VPs. The other PMs and APMs in the company will feel threatened by you because, hey, okay, who's this person? And, they'll judge you. But VPs are like, okay, this person has done something, let me talk to them. Right? So they'll be more open. And so, definitely reach out to the seniors. The other thing that I want to say is the message. So in the message, obviously don't beat around the bush. Obviously talk to them about, hey, I saw this role and I'm interested. Maybe a line on why you're interested. Just one line, maybe just 5-6 words. And then ask them for 15 minutes of their time. It's okay. Just ask them, can I, would love to find a 15-minute window in your calendar to just understand your thoughts on the potential fit. Do you think I would be a fit for the role? That's all you are kind of saying. Not that I want to understand the strategy that the company has, not that I'm interested to know more about the product, your product goals. No, you're not interested to know all of that. So don't just ask for time. 15 minutes is like anyone can give it, and it's about getting their thoughts on the fit. And obviously still many people won't respond, but chances increase. And the first job that I landed was like this. I'm not saying that helps every time, but for me it did, and I still do it. So that's what I would say. So that's the first bucket, which is getting the first call. Right. And I've seen generally people struggle in this step. The second bucket, which is, if I'm getting the first call but I'm not able to clear, like that's rare, but that still happens. I think in those scenarios, what will help is picking up a mentor in your line of work, right? For me, it's product management. So picking up someone in product, there are platforms like ADP List where people who are willing to give their time for free are enrolled, and you can find such people there. And don't ask random things to them. Like don't say that, hey, can you review my resume? You've already crossed that stage. Like there's no point working on a resume because the resume gets you the first call. You already got the first call. Just talk to them about, these are the 3 main questions that I'm asked in my interviews. I think I'm messing up in those 3 questions. Can I, in the half an hour that we have, can I narrate the answers that I give and you give me your feedback right on the call? That's the best question to ask, and they will give it to you. Like, okay, in this answer, this is how you're stating. Maybe if you change it like this, it'll have more impact, like whatever, right? Or if someone is busy but they're willing to help, record your answers and send it to them as a recording, and they could send you some feedback. Or you could actually write down your answers word by word, and ChatGPT can help you narrate your answer and convert it into text, and then send that text in a Google Doc. Why in a Google Doc? Because it's easy for a person to respond in line, comment on each word. So put them on a Google Doc, send it to them. Okay, these are the 3 questions. This is how I respond. Can you just review the answer and imagine I'm talking through it and give me a feedback, right? Like do all of this. It makes it easy for them to provide you feedback, right? If they're not being able to give you time, this can happen async. Yeah,
So
that's what I
I
would say.
guess what you're talking about is a very active job hunting, so to say.
Hmm. Hmm.
To the most people I talk to, they do not go into that level of depth. I
Hmm.
think much appreciated details, like first is getting the first call, and second is actually working on the answers and not giving just random. Maybe people know the answers, but they are not able to frame it in a way that's acceptable to the other person.
95% of the time, that's what happens. Yes.
And it happened to me in the summer internships where I did 20, 30 interviews, but I was giving them incoherent answers of my wishful thinking and not something that they would take me as a serious person out there.
And mind you, this is a continuous effort. Like the all the things that I'm saying, I still struggle. Because as you grow in your career, expectations also increase. If you're applying for a senior PM, group PM, whatever roles, expectations are much higher, and so you keep struggling through this. It's not a one time and you're done with it. Like I still struggle, and so I reach out to people exactly the same way I told you, and they say, that they tell me, okay, you have to change this answer. This worked for you to get an SPM role. This won't help you to get the next role. So okay, you have to change it. Like, oh, that wasn't insightful. I didn't know. So it's a continuous journey.
Uh, so what is the major culture difference that you've seen between India and Canada? Work culture.
Work wise, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I can start with something that everyone understands and knows, and then maybe I can dive into why my hypothesis on why I think that is.
Yeah.
So everyone
I'll
knows
give
that,
you
okay,
context of this. I
yeah,
had a guest on the last podcast, Hirak Chakraborty, uh, and he did his MBA, second MBA from Canada because he wanted to get into a better work culture, and he's finding it that here. Uh, so a lot of people would be coming from that anchor as well, that they heard it in the last podcast.
yeah. And maybe one question before I go on. So when he said better culture, did he dive into it? Like why? What parts of culture did he find better?
He wanted more work-life balance. He
Work life
wanted
balance, yeah.
more focus. So he's like he works from 9 to 5, but that is work, 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 work. It's not that he does not want to work, but he does not want to slog from 5 to 10 p.m. every day.
Yeah, yeah, no, makes sense. So I think everyone knows this, that as compared to maybe India, even China, it's very similar to India. In any Southeast Asian country, or if we compare Canada against them, the work life balance is better here. And you know I, I also heard that, and I was thinking why, right? And based on my experience, I think the reason is that people have a life beyond work, and that's why there's a balance. In India, there's it's very seldom people do something beyond work, right? I worked in India for 6 years, 2 years before MBA, 4 years after. And there was one time I was going back home, and my manager was like, okay, why are you, and this was 6:30 p.m. and it was general, and he was just kidding with me, and he was like, why are you going back so early? I was like, I'm going back home. What will you do at home? Do you have a girlfriend? I was like, no, I don't yet. He's like, okay, so then what, just stay, just work. That's how people are, right? Like, what will you do? Like, what will you do
What
when you
will
go
you
back
do at
home,
home?
right? And then even after marriage, people have good jobs, they can afford all the house helps, right? So they don't really have anything to do back when they go back. They just eat food and maybe watch TV. Maybe if they have kids, they spend some time with them if they want to, and then yeah. So but here, if you talk to people, the first thing that I realize is people ask, like, plan for every weekend. Like they have, like, there are people, VP in my previous organization, he used to coach his kids football team. Like, I have never heard of anyone doing that in India. Maybe they do,
Yeah.
but probability is less, right? They coach, someone has goes to skiing, and these are professionals who are early 40s, right? They go skiing, they go, they have plans of trekking with their kids, like every weekend is booked, be it summer or winter, and they talk about it every Monday. What did you do on the weekend? Every Monday, this is a question: how was your weekend? What did you do on the weekend? I don't think that's the case in India. Maybe it has changed, but no one really
No,
talked.
I don't think it's really changed.
Yeah,
Not
so
really.
so like, because people don't really do anything, like, maybe they have some plans on some weekends, but generally it's just sleep, or buy things for our house, or so we don't really have any activities or hobbies planned. And so and beyond that, obviously there's no house help here. People have to pick their kids from daycares, from school. There's no one else who will do it. They spend time with their kids because they don't have grandparents here who'll do that. They have to wash utensils. That's the obvious things, like, so yeah, I think the reason there's work-life balance here is because people have life beyond work, is what I've observed. And because of that, also there's no judgment. So suppose there's a company in India which says, "Oh, no, we respect work-life balance." The point is, if you genuinely start leaving the company, closing your work at 5:30, even if you're in at 8:39, the question will be like, it's just culturally we don't know what, like, why is this person leaving on 5? Like, there's no answer to it. The only answer is, it's my life, I'll do whatever I want. Like, but that's not good enough, because people judge you, right? And at the end of the day, if you are a person who looks for promotions and who wants to do good with their professional life, you are being judged, even if they're saying, no, we are a company that respects work life balance. Here it comes out genuinely because people have a life. They actually have to close laptops at 5 because they have so many things to do. And there's no question of judgment, because the question of what will you do after 5 is not even a question, because everyone knows, like, there's so many things to do.
There's something to
um
do after 5.
yeah, so they'll always have things to do. So there's actually no one who's working. Maybe they open their laptops maybe at 9, just before sleeping, maybe just to wind the work for that, maybe for 1 hour, 9 to 10, 10:30. That's something people do here. But everyone is off at 4:35 mostly. Yeah, that's what I would say from a work culture perspective. And I think what that also has done is kind of pushed me into thinking, okay, what, let me also have a life beyond work, now that I've come to Canada.
So now that you have seen the whole spectrum in last 5 years, and we keep discussing about it, right? Because you and I have been in touch for good 5 6 years now.
Yeah.
So would you advise someone with a great product job back in India to who has a PR to come here, leaving everything now? Like, would you do it all over again?
So there are two ways to think about it. One way people generally think is, okay, I'll come to Canada, get my Canadian citizenship, and move to US, right? And the second is, I'll stay in Canada. So thinking about those two things very differently. So if you're looking to come to Canada, especially in product, I don't know about others, but other jobs, but in product, the product maturity that I've observed in India is much higher than Canada. The kind of things that people are doing in India, building in India, um, that may be another way. The kind of things people were doing in India 5 years back, or maybe 7 years back, Canada is there right now. Is my observation, and many people I know, many people might debate that, but that's just my learning. The kind of products that big banks have here, versus in US, like ICICI is much more advanced in time in things that they offer. And if you talk to a person who's working in a fintech in India, they feel ICICI is much behind,
Yeah,
right? So
ICICI is
so
light years behind as per them, but
light years behind
that's still
as per
like
them.
really good.
That still is still ahead than TD, for instance, right? TD, or big banks here. Also, the other thing is, the reason product management is not very evolved here, in my opinion, is also because there are not many B2C products here. Because from a B2C perspective, all US products end up serving Canada. And um, And so generally product management here more widely is B2B. And that B2B is also enterprise B2B, not SaaS B2B. Like that, obviously it's coming up. I'm just general, like very, very high level. And so a lot of product jobs are more product owner jobs, feature building kind of jobs, not strategic business impacting jobs like we have in India. And so overall salaries are also lower as compared to India if you use PPP, purchasing power parity. So long story short,
But
if you're coming from,
then you used to tell me that PPP does not really work. Like you had a different PPP formula than the rest of
yeah,
the
it's
world.
no, I didn't really have any different. So PPP is basically, I think, the way I understand it is how it feels, right? So how does $100 feel, right? So in actual terms, $100 is 6,000 rupees, right? INR, 6,000 INR right now. But does it feel like 6,000 INR? No. If you're earning in Canada, $100 feels like maybe 2,500 INR, right? So 20, I use 25 as a conversion metric rather than 60. That's what I use from a PPP perspective. And so if you are in product and you have a good salary, generally it will be close to 50 lakhs per annum. So 50 lakhs per annum, if you divide by 25, it would be $200,000, right?
200K.
200K.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get that kind of salary here. It's very difficult.
Why is that? Like I don't see like most people, and I might be totally wrong, but I think 150K is sort of the ceiling number that I heard from most folks.
Yeah. So also the concept of ceiling, right? There's no concept of ceiling in India, right? Like a person who's earning 50 lakhs might get, and I'm assuming they're a high performer, they'll get maybe 10%, 20% growth every year also. Here, the growth is 1-2% because inflation is also that. Right now, it's a very different world. Let's ignore that. But in general, US and Canada have 1-2% inflation, and that's why the salary growth is also 1 or 2%. Um, and also this concept of ceiling, I have not thought about it deeply, but that definitely exists. Um, and that's not the case in India. Like you could be earning, if you're a VP product in India with a good product, like you might be earning 1 crore there, and it's like maybe more than that, and that's actually okay. Many people are doing it. Earning 300K, 400K in Canada is very, 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 very rare. So I actually did this. Like you can do it as well. Search on Google. So there's a company called the Home Depot. That's basically a US based company, but also in Canada. And then there's a company called Canadian Tire, which is in some ways similar to the Home Depot, some ways different. And it's a Canada-based company, and it doesn't operate in US. And if you compare their turnovers, like revenue, annual revenue, I think Canadian Tire is 1/10, right? 1/10. So you would assume that the salary of the CEO should also be 1/10. But if you compare the salaries, the Home Depot CEO, I think the salary is 25 million per annum. This is the actual salary. Obviously, they'll have equity beyond that.
Yeah.
And if the Canadian Tire CEO, the salary is close to not even $1 million, not even $1 million,
Is it? Okay.
right? And so that's telling, right, in a way, and this is US. And by the way, just for all your viewers, US and Canada are very different. US
I
has
tell it
more
to a lot of people.
similarities. US has more
Canada is not
similarities to
US.
India. Yeah, US has more similarities to India. Like work-life balance doesn't exist. There's no cap on salary. You can earn a lot. It's very similar to India. Canada is
You're on your
similar
own
to
on healthcare.
yeah, own healthcare, very similar to India. Canada is more similar to European country. Like I have a relative in Finland. So it's very similar, more similar to Finland, than US. But I forgot my chain of yeah. So there is definitely a ceiling, and so money is not a reason you should move to Canada, especially in product. It's less. So if you're okay with that, okay, if you think work life balance is more priority for you, then yes. But if you are a person for whom salary is important and you still move to Canada thinking that you'll move to US, yes, then obviously move. Work here for some years and then move to US. Also, there's one thing happening right now is that US companies are hiring from Canada. And the reason is Canadian dollar is is weaker than US dollar, and
Okay.
so they get similar talent in Canada for cheaper price than US. And so there's a trend right now to hire fully remote roles in Canada for US companies. And so you might, if you land that kind of role, you can get best of both worlds maybe. But at the end of the day, if you get more and more salary from a US kind of company, then it's the expectation will be very similar to India. So don't expect
The work-life
Canadian, yeah,
balance that
yeah,
we talk about.
yeah. Because in US also, people, although people don't have house help and all of that, but still they work. Like it's actually worse than India. Yeah.
Is there something that you want to cover or you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Yeah, from a job search perspective, generally people start with, "Hey, let me improve my resume." That's like a never-ending loop. Like you can improve your resume how much ever you want. Don't get stuck into it. Think about the outcome. Think about how can I instigate curiosity. There are things beyond resume that you can do. Obviously, work on it, but just it's okay. Whatever level, if you're feeling comfortable with it, just move on. Um, Ask for help. People in Canada, even people who are from different countries in Canada, not really only Canadians, but whoever in Canada, are generally more willing to help uh, random strangers if you reach out to them on LinkedIn as compared to India, is what I've seen. Maybe things are changing now. um, so yeah, ask for help. Mostly you'll get it. um, from a culture perspective, yeah, salary. So I'm in product. My partner, my wife, she's in marketing. For both of us, salary is actually less than what we would have been earning in India. And so if salary is a motivator, definitely don't make the move to Canada. That's not something that's better. But yes, if you want to do a business, Canada is a great place. Because you can save a lot on taxes.
You can
That
write off your
that
income.
write off so much expenses, so you end up paying very less taxes as compared to a typical salaried person like me. Um, so yeah, if you want to do business, come here. You learn a lot, but from a salary perspective, no. Work-life balance is good. Schools, people say school healthcare is all free. Yes, it's free, but it has its nuances. Healthcare, I already told. Schools, there is a big debate always going on between parents, public and private schools. Like which schools are better? So public schools are basically schools that are sponsored by the government, and private are where you pay. Like even in Canada, it's very similar to India. India also has public schools. We just write them off because no one in our community goes to them. In Delhi, things are changing, hopefully. um, but yeah, even here in Canada, people end up sending their kids to private schools, and we being from India, uh, we give us a lot of stress on studies. And so even if you come to Canada, you might end up sending your kids to private schools, which is a cost. And so it also becomes not a big reason to come to Canada. um, so yeah, at the end of the day, I think being far away from India, the only reason that I'm sticking to it is just the work life balance part of it. Um, and also I have a sibling in US, which is okay, it's
Easier
still
to
closer as
be
compared
with
to
them.
India. Yep. But yeah, it's not one size fits all. But yes is not the obvious answer. Like definitely, think about it. Yeah.
But thanks a lot for your time, Ayush. I hope people who listen to this find it useful. See, my takeaway from the whole conversation was you have to be really active while doing anything that you want to do, be it finding a job or be it continuously doing something after work. You have to be very active about it. Being passive won't help in the long run.
No, yeah, for sure. That's true.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed talking to you. Such